Hi, I just received a package in the mail of 6 CDs that I bought on one of the Facebook uh, CD trading groups. It's actually not trading; it's buying and selling. I bought it in the weekend, and now it's what is it, Wednesday? It just turned up. I'll try to get rid of this because it says my name and address on it. So what did I get? It's packaged quite nicely. I've bought off this guy before, and he always has great CDs, and he always packages them well. So let's go through these one by one. Start here. Radiohead, The King of Limbs. Now this is probably, would you say, I don't know, someone watching this who likes Radiohead, would you say that this is their least, I don't know, what am I trying to say, the least known, least listened to, most poorly regarded? And it's almost like because it's a bad album or anything, but it's kind of, if you look at their discography and you go through them and you think about them, um, this one is probably the one that people would talk about the least, and it has the didn't really have any singles. I don't think it had a single on it, but it may have. It came out in 2011, and first time I listened to it, I remember I downloaded this in 2011 illegally, and I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it was bad, but it was kind of hard to get into. I found it to be quite angular. How can I explain it? It was just, yeah, it didn't really have any I don't know how I can really explain it, but over the last 13 years I've listened to it more and more, and I actually have come to quite enjoy parts of it. And there's one song in particular that I think is one of Radiohead's best songs of their career, and that is the song Codex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, track 6 on this. Um, the other song, A Lotus Flower, is quite a good song. Separate is okay. The other ones, I've listened through to this, on like I said, the downloaded version. Oh, sorry, and or on Spotify, many times. But the other songs don't really stand out as much to me. But so I maybe need to listen to it more concertedly. But certainly, that song. If you're going to listen to one song off this, that song Codex, is a very very beautiful song. Like I said, probably if I had to put together a kind of top 10 Radiohead songs that I enjoy most, it would be very, very difficult to do. But I'd say Codex would probably feature in my top 10 Radiohead songs. Hauntingly beautiful is how I would describe it. It's in this kind of cardboard digipack type thing. What's all this about? It's got Ragnarok, Yggdrasil. That's the name of the tree of life in ancient Norse mythology, isn't it? I know a lot of black metal artists from Norway reference Yggdrasil. I don't know how to actually pronounce it. Yggdrasil. I think Enslaved has got a song about that as well. Music and sounds from the Kingdom of Limb was conjured up by Radiohead and produced by Nigel Godrich. Trying to see if there's anything interesting in here. A big thank you very much to Drew Barrymore. Wonder what's that all about. Okay, so that's number one. It's in very good condition as well. Oh, by the way, this was $5. These are all secondhand from the guy's collection. This was $5. I've never seen this for sale, new or used. So to find it for $5, I'm pretty content with that. Next up, another Radiohead album, In Rainbows. This is the one that they first released digitally, and you could pick your own price. I think you could even download for free. I was living overseas when this happened, I remember, but I've listened to this album a lot. and I'm very familiar with it. This is the first time I've owned an actual copy of it, but I had the digital version on my old iPod, and um, it's a very good album. Radiohead, I think, doesn't have bad albums in my opinion, but if you think about what preceded this, I think before this was Hail to the Thief. I think this is probably a bit out. I like Hail. I was actually listening to Hail to the Thief yesterday, but I like Hail to the Thief a lot. But I probably think this is a slightly better album in my opinion. What have we got in here? Well, this is kind of showing you how to do the stickers. I think if you had a jewel case, and the CD itself was in this little envelope. And here we have the liner notes booklet. Which way does it go? Quite like that artistic choice, the kind of like the splash of light, neon light and paint or something, color. Quite cool. So if you're not familiar with this album, what songs would I recommend? 15 Steps, the first one, I like that. Faust Up, I really like that one, and I also really like Reckoner. Starts off with this drum beat. I don't know what time signature it's in, and then comes in with this very beautiful picked guitar. And then one of my favorite parts on the whole album is in that song Reckoner, where it kind of starts off just the drum, the sparse drum beat, boogadooch, boogadooch, and then the guitar, and then Tom York's voice, and then I don't know how it would be the end of the first verse. It comes in with these kind of piano chords over the top, and then the bass underneath it, just the way it kind of like joins the song. How can I express that differently? Like it's almost like it's the song's walking along, and then it's kind of joined by two friends on the side, and it's one of my favorite parts of any Radiohead song. Videotape, the last song, is also very beautiful. It's kind of like he's singing about the end of his life, imagining after he dies and he's showing back his whole life on a videotape. And again, a very, very beautiful sentiment. So I don't know, that's one of their best albums. I like all of Radiohead's albums. My favorite Radiohead albums probably OK Computer, tied with Kid A. And then I'd say maybe In Rainbows is on the second level, together with maybe The Bends and Amnesiac, and then Hail to the Thief, King of Limbs. Pablo Honey I'm not the biggest fan of, to be honest. Moonshaped Pull I'd probably put together with Hail to the Thief, that kind of level. Anyway, I'm going to run out of time here, so I better keep going through there. What else did I get? Next up, talked about this album before, haven't I? Weezer, Pinkerton, their second album, and probably my favorite Weezer album. I owned this 20 years ago or so. This was, when it came out, was kind of considered to be a bit of a letdown commercially and even maybe artistically or creatively. It kind of, after the Blue album, that kind of like was quite a big thing. They had a few decent singles like Buddy Holly and the Sweater Song, Say It Ain't So. And they came out with this, and everyone kind of, or critics at least, found this, and maybe even fans found this to be quite dark and raw. It's not really dark though, but kind of raw and uncommercial sounding. However, when I go back and listen to this, I think, well, it doesn't really sound, it's quite catchy, I find it to be. There's a lot of kind of hooks in it, a lot of catchy songs, quite upbeat. So I don't really get that line of thinking. Regardless, it didn't perform as well commercially as the Blue album, but it was very popular. It was kind of like a slow burn, and it kind of attained cult status for some reason. But I remember when it first came out, the first single they had was El Scorcho. I thought it was a good song. I've talked before. I really like the production on that first song, "Tide of Sex." It's really has like a real live feel to it. The first time I heard it, it kind of felt like the feeling of being at a concert or at a live show. I'm not exactly sure how they achieved that. What was the were they playing live in the studio or whatever? Uh, Across the Sea, it's a good song. The Good Life, Pink Triangle. It's about falling in love with a lesbian. What else? Next one, another one I've talked about a lot recently. Linkin Park, Hybrid Theory. Now I could have probably waited and found this for probably like $1 or 50 cents somewhere because it's a pretty common album. But I've been looking for it for ages, and I thought $5. I'm just gonna go and buy it now. I bought this when it came out. 20 would have been 23 years ago. I think it was at 2001, 2000, 2001. When was it? 2000. So 24 years ago. Never really liked any Linkin Park album after this, but I like this album. It's got a lot of good songs on it. If you look at the track listing, Paper Cut, One Step Closer, Points of Authority, Crawling. There's like so many singles on it. In the End, I really like track 3, With You. I remember they used that in that TV show Smallville. Can you remember that? Not Smallville. The one with Roswell, with those like teenage aliens, good-looking teenage aliens from the early 2000s. And I remember that song was used in that show. So yeah, really like this album. Didn't really like anything Linkin Park did. I don't think I owned a single Linkin Park album after this. But there's so many little parts in this that I just love the production or the kind of the techniques they use. Like, for example, in that songs of Points of Authority, the last 30 seconds of that song, there's like so many kind of little production tricks they use that kind of, even that they blow my mind at the time, but even now I listen to it, I think, wow, that's so cool how they did that. And some people might think it's kind of overproduced and kind of fake sounding, but I guess that's kind of part of it. It's Linkin Park. You're not looking for some kind of raw sounding thing when you hear Linkin Park. It's all very clean and sheen sounding, isn't it? Last two. See if you recognize these album covers. Here we have two Godspeed You Black Emperor albums. Yankee UXO and, can you read that? Alleluia, Don't Bend, Ascend. I wonder why sometimes you see Alleluia spelled as A with an A or sometimes with an H. Hallelujah. So it's an ancient Hebrew word, I think, isn't it? Alleluia. I was just trying to research I can't be bothered. So this one came out in the early 2000s. It would have been, I think it was 2003-ish. And this one is much later. They had that kind of big gap. I think they had a hiatus and they came back around 2010. Okay, so this one's 2012. This one's 2002. Yankees 2002. I haven't listened to this one, the Alleluia one, very much at all. I'm much more familiar with their early work, such as Lift Your Skinny Fists, and the one before that was like F sharp, A sharp, or and this one here, Yankee UXO. But the later works that they did when they got back together in 2012, I haven't really listened to much at all. So I'll be interested to hear. Godspeed You Black Emperor, if you don't know, is kind of, I guess, what you call post-rock, experimental, what do they say here? Post-rock exactly what I said. Post-rock, experimental rock, drone. So yes, they certainly have a drone element to their work. I think they're Canadian, French Canadian. They're from Montreal. If you see some of the names, they look quite French Canadian. Ephraim Munzik, Sophie Trudeau, Carl Lemieux. And they're quite anti-establishment. Like a lot of the things explore themes of kind of U.S. imperialism and the what do you call it? The industrial military complex, as you can see thing on here, Raytheon Industries. US Army Future Combat, Lockheed Martin. These are all things I'm sure you're familiar with if you've done any kind of reading on the military-industrial complex. AOL, Time Warner, General Motors. It's talking about all the connections between these things and other industries such as Sony and GM and Atlantic and things like that. Anyway, so some pretty good buys there. $5 each. Very, very unlikely to find any of those except for the Linkin Park one for $5. So I'm happy to have them. Thank you for watching.